Times like these, I'm scared to go all digital.
Let's find out why.
Hello and welcome to episode 48. You know, I thought about this. Why do I always say episode if you follow with me and say you're lucky? So you know what? Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, Mr.
Saul Bridges, bringing you lucky episode 48.
There we go.
Makes
See, it makes
sense.
way more sense.
It really does.
It hit me, and then I still didn't do it.
Never
that
thought
goes
of
to show
that
what
somehow.
habit does for you. Anyway, if you've never listened to us, we are Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast, and we upload a new episode every Monday at 10 a.m. PST, 12 p.m. CST. Look,
There we go. That's it.
And that is on YouTube or on pretty much any podcast service that you would use besides Spotify, sad face. But that's okay. Saul?
Yes, sir.
Couple things we need to do. I think we need to start mentioning our Discord earlier. I haven't really thought about that. So
Yeah, I
a couple
guess so.
things. You can find us on Twitter at TriangleSQRD, and that's where we do a lot of our back and forth talk with people. Of course, though, we also have our own Discord server that we really get some blowing up on every now and then. It's hard to catch up every
It's
now
like
and
3
then.
hours. 3 hours later, there's 50 unread messages.
Definitely when it's people who, that's why I mentioned earlier, people who live in the like European time zones.
Like
it's
3
like
a.m.
it's 3 a.m. and
Yep.
I'm getting 20 messages.
I
I never
always-
wake up, but I see them in the morning. I'm like, woo.
I have those notifications silenced, but yeah, I wake up in the morning and without fail, there's a Discord message. So it's every single morning. I like it. I'm not complaining. It's cool. I like going back and reading.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't, so I'm kind of lost in conversation for a little bit, but that's fine. That's me 99% of the time, anyways. So yeah. Mr. Brett, what have you been playing this week? If not a whole lot of Monster Hunter, anything else?
Okay, so it's been a weird week for me, as I've mentioned to a couple of people on Discord and just randomly when we've been talking about stuff on Twitter. My grandpa actually has been in the hospital since Wednesday night. So from pretty much, and I didn't play a lot Wednesday because me and Hannah were watching a Hawthorne Heights concert they did online that was free because I'd bought in a shirt. So we were just kind of
That's
relaxing.
kind of cool.
And then Grandpa kind of went down. So I've not really played anything since Tuesday night. I played a little bit before that thing on Wednesday, and that was Shadow of the Colossus. So I'm still grounding out Shadow of the Colossus technically. I did play that a little bit last night. I played actually a little bit last night alongside Monster Hunter when I finally got to come home. When I was in the hospital with him back and forth and shifting out, some nights I'd come home, spend with my mom, spend with my wife and my daughter, which is important. And then finally yesterday I was like, okay, well, I'm here and I haven't done anything I've really wanted to do for myself. So I'm just going to relax. Kids asleep. Hannah's tired. I'm just going to play games.
Comfy day outside, raining.
Yeah. So, it's just good to kind of relax and take my mind off of things. But, it's been good. It's not just bad. Grandpa's doing a lot better. So that's good to know.
That is
But I did
good.
play in the hospital a lot of Soul Sacrifice. So that was a good thing because in between him needing me, I just kind of plopped down for a little bit and do like a mission or two, and then he'd need me, and kind of kept that going. And the game's great. Even the small changes they've made with Delta
Just made it worth it.
I just-
extra,
yeah,
$15.
well, because this is technically me replaying it, and
Yeah.
I'm not having it's been a while since I played the original, and I never did beat the original, but got really far. So my goal with this time around is to beat it. But yeah, even the small things that I noticed, even after all this time, because of the changes they've made, I actually am not like dreading replaying any of this at all. It's also it doesn't hurt that it's just a really cool game, like premise wise and art wise, and it was one of the shining titles on the Vita early days. I remember how hyped I was for it before it came out, and of course after it came out. It's one of those games that's got really awesome multiplayer, but I just sadly don't really have very many people to play multiplayer with now, but that's okay. Saul, what have you been playing though?
A lot of Monster Hunter. A little bit of Celeste sprinkled in there. A little bit
On
of
Switch, right?
Yeah, a little bit of PUBG sprinkled in there. Downloaded Divinity Original. No.
Sin, right?
Yeah, I can never get the name right. I think it's Divinity. It's Divinity Original 2, or it's Divinity 2 Original Sin, or Divinity Original 2 Sin, whatever it's called.
Okay, but Divinity 2, the newest one, actually.
Yeah, and
not the first one.
No, yeah, it's super, super fun. It makes me kind of want to get the first one on PS4 since I've heard they fixed a lot of stuff in the reworked version of it, so that's interesting. But other than that, like really just Monster Hunter after Monster Hunter. I didn't get to play a whole lot this week, unfortunately.
But when you are playing, that's what you're playing.
Yeah, and like if I come home at 10 o'clock or whatever, I'm not playing Monster Hunter. I'm playing Celeste. It's very rare that I hop on my PS4 if I come home that late. But yeah, that's really been it this week for me.
Well, it sounds like we hadn't had too crazy of a week, which is about right. I mean, that happens sometimes, and you can't control life, but that's all right. So go ahead and hop into the drop, good sir.
Sure thing. So this week releasing, we have Blasters of the Universe for PSVR, Bridge Constructor Portal for PS4, Bulb Boy for PS4, Crypto the Serpent King for PS4, D-Blob 2 for PS4, available in stores and digitally.
Yeah, I forgot they did D-Blob 1 or Dayblob, whatever
Dayblob,
it is.
Yeah. Don't Knock Twice for PSVR, Gravel for PS4, available at stores and digitally. Heroin Anthem 0, Episode 1 for PS4.
That looks crazy. Just from art,
yeah,
it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, just the sword for
that
the
could be
cover
extremely misleading, but
yeah,
at least it's cool art, because I hate when the games have like really, really awful art. It's like, I don't even want to try you.
That's how like a lot of mobile games work. They have really cool screenshots that's not in the game. We have Hex Tunnel for PSVR. We have Immortal Redneck for PS4. Jet Miro, Hero of the Universe for PS4. Moss for PSVR.
Yeah.
A lot of people are super excited about that.
Yeah, Moss looks really good.
Mululaka for PS4. Mulaka sounds actually really, really cool. I don't know if you've seen anything about this game yet.
I have not, that I'm remembering.
Super interesting.
There's a couple of games coming out, like that FE game came out. I'm assuming you call it Faye.
Yeah, I think.
It looks really good too, actually.
Well, Fee would be FI, I guess. But we have Perfect Angle for PS4, Riftstar Raiders for PS4, Seum Speedrunners from Hell for PS4. Sounds cool. Don't know what it's about, but I like speedrunning. Shiny, a robotic adventure for PS4, available in stores and digitally. Timothy versus the Aliens for PS4, and that is it this week.
That's actually a pretty long drop.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
We're in that weird stage where I guess because there's not a lot of big releases, the indies are trying to hit out in just the right spots. That's probably good, because I mean, it's just about to be March. March has got a couple of things coming out. I mean, it's got Far Cry 5. What else is coming March that we're excited for?
God of War.
God of War is April 20th.
Oh, no, it is, yeah. I keep thinking it's
There's
March
something else in March
reason.
that I was talking about the other day that I was like, I forgot that was coming out in March, and it looks really good.
I think I was a part of this conversation. If not, I read it.
Who knows, man? My mind's been all over the place. But yeah, it's not a bad week. Moss is cool. I think that one of the things I've always wondered about VR is like how well it can succeed in doing non-first person things. Because obviously first person's like the easy way for VR to be cool because it's just immersive in a very different way. But I like the idea of giving you like a 3D world with a protagonist that you play as, that you don't assume the world through their eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Don't Knock Twice looks kind of cool actually too. That's the first.
I mean, it looked like a horror game. I don't really know
for PSVR, so that's what I'm curious.
I mean, a lot of the horror games I imagine would be pretty good because I mean, like I say, I was talking with someone in the Discord chat earlier. They were talking about should they get a VR, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, as long as you feel like it'll be, as long as you feel like you have the disposable income to get it. I think that there's a couple, and he was talking about buying used. I was like, worst case scenario, you don't like it, just take it back.
Yeah.
Return it. But I was like, some of the go-to experiences that I think quickly sell you on the experience is Resident Evil 7. And I think that how successful Resident Evil 7 has been in part to VR and in part to it being first person, which is just a weird, good change up. But I think that that's going to inspire more games, be it indie or whatever, to also kind of go the route of VR compatible. Though I would have sworn that they would have made Outlast 2 VR compatible, and they did not.
And that's crazy because
perfect game for it, I feel like. But I mean, maybe you do run a lot more in Outlast, and maybe like the idea of running that quickly and that sense of motion, it may have been hard to try and actually just correctly balance. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Outlast 2 was VR compatible on PC. I don't know. I could be wrong with that. But either way,
speaking of those first-person horror games, though, did you know that there is a way that you can actually get PT on your PS4 Pro and play it? No. As long as you have it downloaded and you own the license into it, you can do it. It's a workaround.
Well, as long as you have it downloaded.
What's in your library?
Well, see, it's in my library, but it won't let me download it.
Exactly. This is a workaround that lets you do it and lets you play it.
Ooh.
I read that earlier, so I'm going to look into that here in a little bit. I want to see if we could try that out because I don't have it on mine in a way. I'm kind of confused at how it is, but I got the PS4 from you.
Mm-hmm.
You had it on your PS4.
Did you transfer your original stuff from your original hard drive to your new PS4?
No, but it's still in my library.
Well, it's in your library then.
Right.
Ooh, I don't know about that. That's a good question.
I never had it on my profile, so it's weird that it kind of saved it from your profile in the library of the PS4, and then when I took primary ownership over the old one, it transferred to me. I guess I don't know how that works,
that's a good
but
question.
It is on my PS4 Pro, so.
No, but the game is, but it's in your PS4 Pro's
it's
library.
My library, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Go ahead and hop into the good old news, good sir.
Good old news. It's relatively
TSN, Triangle Squared News.
Yeah, okay.
Biggest network
TSNBC.
out there. TSNBC.
All right. So this is your favorite thing for fans of Final Fantasy 15. You're in for more of the game, as there are 4 more DLC episodes set to come out. Originally meant to be 3 more episodes releasing in 2018. They've decided to add a 4th that might not launch until next year. The first one of these will focus on Arden, which I don't even know if you know who Arden is, so I won't go into it.
I do. That's the main. Well,
don't say anything, because
I'm not. I was going to say the very beginning primary antagonist.
I mean, I guess he's just kind of like the weird, I'm going to come in and screw with
Anti-hero.
your life for a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the other 3 do not have any word, and the assumption is obviously that they may not, because you got to think none of these are coming out until after the PC version comes out in March.
It's crazy how one of these is not coming out to 2019.
I mean, hey, but they're doing well on the game. So I get that there's arguments regarding like people being like, well, they just need to stop and move on to Final Fantasy 16. I am fairly positive, of course, there's no way for us to know, but I'm fairly positive that the entire team did not move
gone from
on.
This.
Yeah, the entire team is not still playing, not making this.
Yeah,
game.
this is not something I can see Square actually doing a whole lot of. A lot of this had to have been parted out to other people, other teams and stuff.
Well, I don't know if it was. I think some of the original team helped, but I think that obviously the majority of the original team would have moved on to start working on something else.
I hope so.
I
really hope
I
so.
can't imagine that they'd have that many people working on just DLC episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to be honest,
I'd be
mean,
sad.
Because like even like okay, so Naughty Dog actually handled the Last of Us PS4 port, right?
Right.
Even when they did that, 3 people did that entire port,
which is nuts.
So I mean, if you think about it like that, it may have been 4, but it was a very, very small team. I'm pretty sure it was 3. So I mean, you got to think 3 people did that. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of what they did with Ratchet and Clank whenever the release date got delayed to kind of coincide with the movie. They had all this extra time, and they just left a couple people on it to just to just sit there and polish and get every bug they could worked out. So, you know.
Did the Ratchet and Clank movie come out? What was the other movie that was supposed to come out?
Sly Cooper. That's not happened. Right. And now Sly Cooper, the movie's kind of off. This is all way off what we were talking about. But anyway, the movie's off right now. Nobody's talked about it for a long time, and they started talking about the cartoon series, which I also don't know if will ever happen, because Sony has not done very well with taking their properties and moving them to any kind of
other media.
Yeah. So, but we will see. Who knows? Anything's possible. Next up, Sega announced a demo for Valkyria Chronicles 4 that will allow you to transfer your progress in it to the final release, but sadly, it's only for Japan. No word on whether Sega of America will follow with a Western demo of the game, but if you'd like to play it and you really care, you can make a Japanese PSN extremely easily. People do it all the time. The demo is available starting the 26th, so that is the day that this podcast releases. That's Monday. Next up, January 2018's NPD numbers were released. I've been trying to keep an eye out on this. Finally found them. That's good. Or they finally posted. And it was a good month for the industry overall, at least in the U.S. All 3 consoles saw year-over-year growth, with Switch selling the most units, but PS4 generating the most revenue. On software side, the best 10 selling games of the month across all platforms is as follows. It's Monster Hunter World, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Call of Duty World War II, which is kind of surprising, but also not. PUBG, which not surprising since it's still on Xbox, and it sold a lot there. Grand Theft Auto 5, to no one's surprise. NBA 2K18, Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild hanging in at 8th. Mario Kart 8 hanging in at 9th. Those are really kind of surprising, but I guess the influx of Switch would make those games come back up. So, and then Madden NFL 18, which is a little surprising. I guess those games do continue to sell well until right around the time that the next one's announced.
It's crazy. I keep forgetting I owned that game at one point.
What, Madden?
Yeah.
I did not know you. Oh, yeah, I forgot you said you kind of like football games. I forgot about that. Okay.
I had it for a while because I heard the story mode was pretty good.
I got you. Well, anyway, despite launching on the 26th, Monster Hunter World top charts across the board. As you can see, it was the best-selling game across all platforms. But on PS4, the best-selling games are as follows. These are the top 10. Monster Hunter World, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Call of Duty World War II, Grand Theft Auto 5, NBA 2K18, Madden NFL 18, Dissidia, Final Fantasy NT, which is good because I kind of started worrying that game might flop considering that it came out around Monster Hunter World. Star Wars Battlefront 2, a little surprising. UFC 3, FIFA 18 to round the list off. That's kind of interesting. I don't know. Some of these older, I'm always, because I don't play sports games very often, I'm always amazed at how well sports games actually manage to. Like, that's
FIFA,
why it's
man.
kind of surprising me. FIFA
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, FIFA is the one that I feel like shouldn't surprise me. But look, even NBA and Madden are above FIFA.
Yeah.
So, FIFA normally, it's America, I guess, but FIFA normally hangs on as a good seller across the year because of it being, like, football and basketball are very specifically American sports, like,
Right.
or at least very American-centric, whereas soccer and football, as we want to call it, are more worldwide, so that's interesting. Let's see. Saul, you know you love this one. Konami's under fire for its microtransaction implementation for Metal Gear Survive. For players to have more than one character save or to restart, you have to spend $10 on a new slot or completely delete your original character and make a new one. At this time, the publishers made no comment on this at all. Who knows? I doubt this is something they're even going to change.
It's Konami at that point. Like, I've heard a lot of bad things about that game.
I still not played it. I reserve complete judgment because it's just not even in my interest, because that's just where I'll leave it. It doesn't look like it'd be fun to me, and that's all I need to know. Next thing up, though, is if you have PSVR and have been eyeing Moss like we were talking about, it's a little third-person puzzle game featuring, I say a puzzle game, but, but features a little mouse protagonist named Quill, real cute. Its file size won't impact your PS4 much, coming in at just 6.37 gigs. That's cool. Level 5's Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom has gone gold, so no more delays. The game is set to launch on March 23rd, 2018. That's what it is. I was like, I know it's something I saw recently, and we talked about recently, because Blaze is really, really liking the idea of that game. And hey, Blaze has actually continued to play Monster Hunter for like way longer than I would have anticipated, so good for him.
Yeah.
Next up, EA's finally wading into the remasters pool with their first remaster ever, Burnout Paradise. We already knew about this from the Japan thing a while back. But it's good to see that it is coming out over here. The game will feature PS4 Pro enhancements, with the team mentioning 4K 60 frames per second, though no word on whether it will be native 4K like they did with Skyrim or some form of upscaling. The game is old. The game originally came out in 2008, so this is 10 years. If you think about that, I could see them running this game at native 4K on PS4 Pro, but I don't know how they're going to go, because 60 frames per second may be harder to do it native. I'm not aware, actually. That's a good question. Don't know enough about that game, but I love that game. That game's really interesting and fun. Not that I don't love the other Burnout series. A lot of people wanted Burnout 3, but I mean, as much as I love Burnout 3, this game feels more like remaster worthy, whereas Burnout 3 feels more like remake worthy.
And it could be rose tints and glasses on 3 too. I don't
know.
so.
I mean, I played a lot of 3. I actually really love 3.
2 was really, really good too.
I just think that 3 would look a lot better. Either do it two ways: make it a PS2 to PS3 game, or PS2 to PS4 classic, whatever, and just let it be the original game. And let just people play it that way, give it a trophy list. That'd be one thing that's cool to do, like they've done with some of their other games, or remake it. But I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I think of looking at Burnout 3. It'd be weird, though, because who makes non-open world racers now? So remaking that game would be real weird.
Yeah, that's really nobody.
I mean, not that I can think of. I guess Onrush is going to be coming, but that's more of a different...
Technically, Gran Turismo.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Forza, well, kind of, yeah. I guess there's a few. There's a
but
few
they're
big ones.
normally more realistic racing. They're more sim related, right? So I mean, I don't know. Like Onrush is not going to be, but that's like a very track specific thing, because it's like almost like a battle buggy racer kind of thing, like they do with MotorStorm. So I don't know. It just seems like it'd be a weird time to come out with it. But
MotorStorm was fun.
Hey, Onrush looks awesome, man. Ubisoft have updated Assassin's Creed Origins. This is just cool, but with a Discovery Tour mode aimed at allowing players to explore ancient Egypt without combat or quest, but instead allow you to take guided tours and discover historical sites. It acts as a virtual museum intended to be purely educational. That's a cool idea. I've also heard stories about college professors using Assassin's Creed at different times to help teach like lectures. That's a cool idea. Next thing and final thing, Sony, and this is actually going to be kind of our transition into the final topic, but we will do reader mail between that. But Sony has been under fire for banning a PSN user for a username that violated its terms of service. The controversy, though, comes from the fact that the username was created 8 years ago and nothing has ever been said or done until now, which creates a big question about the future of going all digital, which is something that a lot of people talk about, this all digital future, no physical games. This also makes a big deal, like what if he spends a lot of time trophy hunting? It's a big deal. He's called, and while some people have mentioned Did you go to the Reddit?
Yeah,
post?
I saw the Reddit thread.
So some people mention, and I've seen this before too, that they have had similar things, and
their trophies came back.
Well, they had had similar things happen, and they were like banned, and then they were forced to change their name.
Yeah,
and they actually got a name change, which is wild because we've been told you can't, which obviously we know you can. It's just a very involved process. And someone actually goes into detail there with what I believe is the correct way, because I remember it always being a server issue, and it's the way that every other server looks at, and this will just be what we do right before reader mail, but every server looks at, there's a numerical ID.
Right.
And then it applies a nickname.
ID.
And the nickname is what everybody sees. And the nickname can be changed because everything funnels back to the numerical ID.
Right.
Whereas in this, your numerical ID is your name.
Yep.
Like, it's not numerical, it's just your ID. And everything falls to that. So if you change it, you have to go, okay, well, now in the category that says, what does this one own? I got to change it there. I got to change it here. I got to change it there. Because you can't. So it's a weird thing, and I don't know. It causes a lot of issues, and it kind of makes you realize how Sony just brute forced through these issues that were probably early. They probably knew about this real early on, but they were hoping it wouldn't be an issue, but now it's an issue.
And the crazy thing is that to the few people that it happened to, they of course got to keep any purchased games, but that one major disadvantage was them taking away the trophies. Now, some of them claim they got their trophies back
Randomly.
So like, it makes me really wonder is it just an effort thing? And we're going to get into this here in a minute. Is it more of an effort thing that Sony just doesn't want to deal with at this point?
To deal with changing names? Probably,
because I bet you that has to be something somebody has to go in there and take any licenses, trophies,
and literally transfer them over to this new.
Yeah,
I guarantee. And if that's the way, then of course there's no reason for Sony right now to do that as a change name thing. Because
but if they're getting paid,
it doesn't make sense.
Do it.
Well, yeah, but
pay
what?
$10 a name change. They'll make
it's not enough to cover what.
They'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, I'm sure they'll make. But how does that cover the labor that actually goes in? Because how hard is it to actually go through and change all those fields?
That's the question. Is that
it's only worth it to them if it becomes extremely streamlined?
Yeah. Is it a drag and drop sort of thing, or is it is it a task that you can give somebody as an extra task that they?
We'll go into that in a minute. So let's go ahead and hop into reader mail real quick,
sure thing.
so before we can forget about it.
So for those that don't know, if you follow us on Triangle Squared Twitter, we said it earlier, Triangle SQRD. About Friday, if we film on Saturdays, typically, sometimes earlier, we'll try to have a tweet up that lets you guys know to respond to it and ask us questions. Now, lately, we've been doing kind of just as much as we get. And last episode, we mentioned that we may be going down to about 3 questions an episode, and then we're going to bank the rest. And then every time we have a reader mail episode, we'll throw those questions out. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that change as of this week. Out of the 3 questions, Brett, did you have any that stood out to you that you wanted answered? Or that you wanted to answer?
Yeah, there's a couple. I actually really like Ryan's, and it's based off of the No Clip Danny O'Dwyer thing where they actually went through and showed that the game at one point was co-op.
Right.
And they stripped that back to try and make more of what they were envisioning. They realized it didn't work as well as what they were wanting to do, and it created a lot of issues with making the game as big a scope as they wanted. So his question is, Horizon Zero Dawn was prototyped as a co-op game where you team together to take down machines. What are your thoughts on such a game, and would you like to see maybe a spin-off following the adventures of player-created characters instead of Aloy, teaming up, maybe like Monster Hunter? I think this is a great idea. Sony's always talking about that. Sony forever on the PS Vita, at least, was chasing that. How do we get the Monster Hunter sales that we used to get on PSP on the Vita? Well, and so what happened? A slew of Monster Hunter clones came out.
Right.
And now, don't get me wrong, they weren't bad because Soul Sacrifice was one of those, and I love Soul Sacrifice.
I hear God Hand is pretty good, even though that goes back to PS2.
Sure. But there's plenty of these kind of things. God Hand, was that not a fighting game?
It was a fighting... It was like a fighting game.
Are you sure you're not talking about God Eater? Because God Eater is not. God Eater. Yeah, God Eater is not. God Eater.
There we go.
Yeah, that goes back to PSP, I thought. But regardless.
You might be right.
So anyway, they did a lot of that, but now that they actually have a property that manages to actually be similar, in the world of Horizon, you saw these things kind of have their own ecosystem, and part of their ecosystem, which is already Monster Hunter World-like as enough. I would love to see the idea of just hunting these machines just with, like, say you're just part of the tribes and you create your user-based character, and you're just one of the tribes people, and you go out and you hunt these people. You hunt these things to get resources or whatever. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be one of the coolest spin-offs I'd ever seen, and I actually think that Monster Hunter World doing so well proves that series, or it proves that type of gameplay could do really well.
The only thing that I for my answer really is that Monster Hunter already does it so very well
that would they be able to do it?
It's going to be hard to touch what Monster Hunter does. And then what they could definitely add in would be stylized, cool looking monsters and stuff. And they've already shown that there's a Horizon crossover already. They could probably add more to that as to Monster Hunter if they really, really wanted to. Like,
and really actually add like a Thunderjaw into Monster Hunter for you to hunt. That'd be freaking cool, man.
Monster Hunter is a very deep ocean compared to the little river that is Horizon in terms of crafting and all that. And
sure. No, it would be quite an undertaking on the RPG mechanics side of things. Yeah,
it would be interesting to see if they could pull it off. And if they did, they probably would, of course, get a lot of hate through the Monster Hunter communities.
I don't think so. I think people would like it as the ability of like it makes sense naturally, and you would find yourself moving there anyway. And maybe. I think that once people kind of are kind of winding down off of Monster Hunter, I'm not talking about brand new, but like let's say 2 years from now we get that. People will kind of be not necessarily done with Monster Hunter World because Monster Hunter is one of those series that's always had people playing forever. But anyway, let's see. There was another one that I really like the idea of. And I'm trying. Oh yeah, okay, and it's already been answered. But Saul, I want to see what do you think about that one?
Oh, the
tax one.
So our good buddy John goes by Admiral Austin on Twitter. I can't. Did I have a stroke or something? I don't know what's going on.
I think you did. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about additional tax on violent video games? There is a Republican rep proposed taxing violent video games additionally 10%, then taking the tax money to fund clinics for the mentally ill. So. The last part is what I would like to see as the outcome in a thing that I would never want to see happen, though.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly where I stand on it. I do not believe, and there's a lot of reasons. So my thing right now is I do not agree with a tax on violent video games.
I don't agree with.
But do you know why?
I don't agree with violent video games attributing to mental health.
Oh no, me either necessarily. But my point.
But I was just getting it out there. I wasn't.
My point still stands. My main reason that I don't agree with the tax is video gaming is already expensive, and you're always talking about people who can't afford things, and that you try. People can't just walk into a store and get every system they want. Well. Games are already expensive, and I already expect, just like plenty of people in the industry have talked about, that I really do believe we're going to be in sooner rather than later for some kind of price increase on games. But we're also, with that, like the normal full-fledged AAA game will probably move to $70, but we'll still have this in-between $40 realm that we've been seeing Sony and Microsoft play with for games that don't have multiplayer aspects and things like that, and aren't, it just depends on how they work, but with that being said, games are already expensive. If you put this tax on it, now you're just making it more expensive. There's more of a barrier. And people who want to spend a little bit of money to try and make themselves happy by having a distraction in gaming, that's cool. But the bigger reason that I have an issue with it is who then defines what a violent video game is.
Exactly. And
mature? Because there are games that say cartoon violence on them. Right. Does cartoon violence count as violence even though it's a teen-rated game?
Yeah, like can I buy a Bugs Bunny game
10 and up?
That's cartoon violence, and will that be taxed for violence? And then here's the other problem is that I've seen. I hate getting political on this show, so that's one thing we do steer away from.
I mean, but that's why I kind of like this question because this is just more a stand of how it will affect gaming. Because while I don't like to get political either, obviously everybody has their own political thoughts, but I don't like it when politics start to bleed too much, and that also is when you get into social justice politics and things like that, bleed too much and have a effect on the gaming industry that I don't necessarily think is good. Now, this is one of those. Now, of course, just like you're saying, if the tax were to happen, there's no way for me to avoid it. I would at least want it to go towards something useful like mental health. Yeah. At least it's going towards something that I'm like, well, okay.
And my issue is that I've heard too many reps. I'm not going to say Republican, Democrat. I'm just going to say reps because I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not getting too political, but they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to video games 100% of the time. This dude literally sat there on the news, sitting down, reading from a teleprompter saying that video games are so violent. There are video games out there that you get extra points for killing people. I'm like, and can you please correlate that to me on how that makes somebody violent? Like, are you talking because you could be?
There's a number of studies.
What you're making it sound like is that that you're talking to like older people who don't know that much about video games, and they're talking about like, oh, so you just go around killing people and you get points, and it's encouraging you to kill people. Or, maybe they're talking about Destiny in multiplayer where you have to literally kill people to get points. Like they leave stuff out.
What's the point of the game versus and how graphic is it?
And it's like the person to judge the game, they would obviously need to be knowledgeable. And
there's more than that though. It's just Okay, so this is going to technically, inadvertently show a little bit of my political beliefs, but then you're giving the government the power to say something is something, and I don't agree with that power.
Well, no, I'm just saying in the doomsday world that we would live in during
at that point. Yeah,
yeah,
but
I'm not going to want
think
somebody who claims Crash Bandicoot is violent.
Is violent, and you could say that it is. Oh, well, he hops on this crab's head. It's going to teach kids to go and kill crabs.
Crab
really?
legs.
Really? You know, we kill crabs already.
Yeah,
it's one of those things though. It's I don't believe, and what's funny is Alabama Gamers actually respond to this with something I really thought was, it is exactly how I am, and it goes to show it's somebody who's in the industry.
I don't know if I want to read that one out just because he does state his occupation, and I don't want to get him potentially in trouble at work.
I mean, but there's no name connected to it. But regardless, he's just saying it's a mismanaging of money, underfunding mental health, and looking for an additional payer source. I agree with that.
Yeah. So
why should we have to, if you're the one mismanaging the budget and not giving enough money to that particular segment, why does that fall back on one very specific group of people, which would be gamers?
Yeah, I was gonna say the people buying the games. Like, why is that? Like, why?
That doesn't.
Why
that's not even a
contributing
universal
to
tax.
that?
You know what I mean? Like, that's not even saying all people are going to pay a 10% extra tax to help with, which I also don't agree with.
That's punishing the people who play the games to fund these places that you say these people inevitably go. It's one vicious cycle that I don't agree with.
Yeah,
it's a big doomsday world. But the last question, and if you did not hear your question, don't fret. We will always have that Reader Mail episode once every couple weeks.
Means we need to make sure we're copying these down.
Oh, I already got that going. Okay. So a lot of these questions, they work really, really well for Reader Mail. So I want to answer them all. It's just time with things with time, and a lot of these can be answered out of context. We don't have to have specific ones.
Sure.
But specifically, Matt, not Matty, good guy. Like talking to him in Discord.
Sure.
He said the most time you've ever put into an online multiplayer game.
I saw that one and I like that one too, but I have two answers because inadvertently, I guess where I stand on this is I don't know if he meant a console online game.
I'm sure he just means
or if he just means in general, because my online multiplayer game in general,
RuneScape.
You know it, RuneScape.
Yeah,
it's RuneScape.
I knew it.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's RuneScape. So
we'll see.
But my secondary, if for some reason he just wanted to be console specific, like, okay, well, only on consoles, it's probably Resistance 2. I played the hell out of Resistance 2 on PS3. That multiplayer was so fun, and I was actually one of the few games I played so much that I just got relentlessly good at it, and I always did really well, and it was just extremely fun. I did play a lot of SOCOM Confrontation, but not near as much.
So for me,
I feel like Halo 2 or 3.
Halo 3 is probably the most realistic answer. Going off this current gen, because I don't have stats for that at all. You know what, I actually could probably go look up on my Bungie profile. But like I'm looking on here on Destiny, and I played 245 hours of Destiny 1 on PS4. That's not counting the 100 that we probably put in on Xbox. But Destiny 2, it says I played 151 hours. Something that is still astonishing me, we were talking about this last night, is that I'm up to 112 hours now on Monster Hunter. And I'm very quickly catching up, and the Monster Hunter has been out. I did not put 112 hours into Destiny 2 in the time span that the game
as
came
quickly
out.
as you've done this one,
So, and that's absolutely nuts to me. I was saying, that realistically, it's probably 90 to 95 hours of actual gameplay, and then the other standby hours of me wandering away from my PS4
or going and cooking your burritos,
going and cooking my breakfast burritos. There's a lot of things that could have contributed, but it would probably be, obviously then Destiny 1. If not Destiny 1 in this current gen, it would be Final Fantasy 14 for sure.
Okay, I can see that. I want to sneak one more really small question in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has Brett's cat ever caused an accident in a game? My cat
has
pawed.
Did Liam ask that?
Yeah, this is Liam. He said, my cat has pawed the controller before and threw a grenade, killing me several times. This has happened. Luckily, this has not happened. But I've had her, like when I was doing news and stuff, I've had her just walk over the keyboard, and I was like, God, Tabby.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love Tabby, but she has a weird timing thing. Like she always comes in. I will sometimes, because cats are way different, so I don't treat them like my dog. Cats, Tabby will just literally be nowhere to be found, and then randomly when I'm doing something and I don't get her around, she's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like,
"I'm gonna come mess you up."
Yeah, it's all right though.
But thank you guys for giving us those questions. Once again, that if you follow us on Twitter, you can go ahead and submit those questions on our Twitter, which is Triangle SQRD. And if you don't have a Twitter, you could just make a fake one. Like, make one. If you, I know a lot of people don't like Twitter, and then they can join our Discord. And another thing is that we also have an email that we use too. That's always in the description.
Triangle Squared Podcast at gmail.com.
That's something we rarely check. We may have quite a few emails in there. I don't know how often you checked it. I haven't checked it in like 3 months.
My phone has somehow randomly stopped giving me
all emails,
all email notifications. I don't know when that happened,
but yeah. So eventually, we're gonna have a reader mail extravaganza episode, probably here in the next couple weeks, when news is just real slow, and we just want to kick back and relax and chill with your questions. But up until then, we do have the main topic, which we kind of touched on earlier, and that's the whole changing the name thing and how complicated it is versus losing the rights you have potential to lose.
It's a little bit more than that. I mean, obviously, it's tied into being able to change your name and all of the weird stuff that comes into that. But I think it comes down to a lot of things. So some of this is like what we've already talked about, is that it's we talked about in the reader mail inadvertently. It's somebody has the power to say something is wrong. And I'm not saying that terms of service do not exist for a reason. That's fine.
Right.
Most people don't read terms of service.
Nobody
okay, whatever.
reads terms
Nobody
of
really
service.
does. It's just one of those things. And I get that it is only your fault. But the thing is like the original poster for that mentioned that he's 12 years old. And what this instantly made me think
and his name, I'll say his name. Did you read what his name was?
I read it. I don't remember it.
It is King Madafaka. But it's spelled Madafaka.
Yeah. So obviously, if you could tell what it is, but it's not.
It's weird though that they don't have filters in place. You would think.
Well, how would a filter even catch that? To be dead honest,
I'm not gonna go ahead and say that they are obviously better, but a filter would have caught that on Xbox.
I mean, I don't
because Xbox is super weird. In which when you're making a name, if it's taken, it'll suggest new names for you. But if you put a filter name in, the last time I did it at least, they'll just give you a random name. They're like, we don't like this one. Here's another one. And it's like, yeah. So like they could easily see past a couple things. Now I'm sure Sony. I know Sony has that to an extent.
So
and it's
here's what I assume happens. Right? He's probably playing an online game.
Yeah.
Probably killed somebody.
They got mad,
and they were like, you know what? His name's probably bad. Now that's possible. Or he's playing an online game, and a mother walked in and was like, what's that guy's name? And then was like, report him. You never know.
I bet she wants taxes on violent video games.
But my point being is that this is obviously people. These are weird effects. Because why would he have this account 8 years, no problem, and then randomly ban? Now I do think some of that falls on Sony for not being able to find this early enough, and then obviously there is some bit that falls on Sony for them not allowing name changes. So what are you going to do? I mean, you made this 8 years ago. People change in 8 years. He may not even like the name.
Yeah.
He says he doesn't like the name, but what can he do about it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that too.
There's digital purchases tied to it, and that was the biggest thing. Is like World's End. Me and him were talking about this in the Discord chat a little bit, and that's kind of what spurred this. Is that this is exactly the reason I am so scared
of being all digital
to buy all digital. It's why I don't like it when games only come out digital.
Well, he did get his games back. That was something Sony
so he did finally update that though?
Yes, Sony did allow him to any purchase licenses he did get back.
Because this has been going throughout the week.
Yeah, it was trophies, which was one of the big things.
Yeah, at the first time when he called in, they said nothing could be done.
Yeah, which is nuts. Because I think that's more of an authority move of like, we have these terms and services. You made an offensive name, you get banned or you get everything.
Yeah, but I mean, and that comes to be the thing. So World End's argument was like, at that point, Sony is dictates at any given time. And I get this. And it's what we're talking about with like how social justice stuff can come in and extremely negatively impact something. And this is one of those examples is that may not have been an issue to the majority of people, or even like a name that's slightly sexual or whatever. But right now, when we do not have the ability to change our names as we grow up and stop being so immature or whatever it be, what happens when a name you've made 10 years ago
comes back and bites you in the butt 8 years later.
Randomly, the social climate 10 years later from when you made it is so different, and that this is now considered inappropriate, and they come back and negatively impact you because now the social climate dictates what Sony's gonna, or what any, and Sony just being the person in this example, but whoever is gonna, like, so say Steam comes back and says, you know what, no, this is ridiculous. We're banning your IP, we're banning your name, all your purchases, blah blah blah. Because every purchase you made is tied to Steam. So, right. I mean, what are you going to do with that at that point? You lose everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's just because one company, and I'm not saying the company does not have the ability. It is their online service. They do make their terms of services. it's just a scary thought, and it drives me away from, like, I still can't stand, even though I've already spent money on Hellblade. I've said multiple times, if they released Hellblade physical, I would spend the money to get it again, just so I know that I have it.
Yeah,
nothing can ever happen that keeps me from playing the game.
Right.
And that's kind of where I stand on it. And I wanted to see more of what you thought about this, because the implications of this are obviously scary for me as someone who, and I say the implications are scary, but this is almost like a hidden dagger for me to kind of pull out when people are like, well, what about going all digital? And you're stupid if you don't go all digital. Well, this is now something I can point at.
I can see that.
So all it does is really, it reinforces my stance on it. As somebody who, it's more than that. That is not the reason I don't do it, though it is a big reason. My main reason is that I just have a very collectible personality, as you can tell, and I like visually seeing my games, and I do like the control that's exerted over it, where right now, even though PS2 didn't have online, so it's different, but right now I can plug my PS2 in, or put a PS2 disc into my PS3 since it's backwards compatible, and I can just play it. And nothing can tell me I can't play it. Nothing stops me from playing it. I don't have to have PSN. PSN doesn't have to exist.
Whoops.
But how do you feel like this affects you, or at least affects the way that you think about going all digital? Because obviously this rattles people who have invested more into all digital than it does to someone like me.
So for me, it's more so of an in the moment thing, because you look back at PS3 and 360, and their services are still up and running. So like my whole thing is that with every new console generation iteration, there is going to be, the big blockbusters are going to be remade. That's a given. I would be actually not very surprised if they made Last of Us on PS5, just the first one, if they remade it or ported it to PS5, if it didn't have backwards compatibility of sorts. So my whole thing is that I don't necessarily care to go back and play the older games of, like, Dead Space 1 or 2 or 3, or Borderlands 1 or 2. I could even get those at HD collection now. But like anything older.
Well, you can't get Borderlands 1.
I guess that's right. Yeah, that game was,
which is weird. Wow,
not fantastic.
Oh yeah, but I mean, still, my point being is that, so you're saying that like you don't care to have to go back necessarily.
Yeah, like so 10 years from now, in which my current digital games would have been threatened, the way I look at it is that I paid, at most $60 for the games that I'm going to lose, times, however many games I have. Sure. But my whole thing is that when I paid that $60, I got my enjoyment out of it, because obviously they had no refund system, and I couldn't trade it in.
Yeah, I do get that.
If I want to go back, that's another whole thing of me on PC of, like, just 2 weeks ago, Dead Space was free on Origin. Mm-hmm. So I literally bought Dead Space 1. If I want to play a game that's not an exclusive, then I have an alternative way to play it.
Yeah, you do. Now, I mean, there's tons of things that obviously keep me. If I go back and play a game, I normally want to, and I've not done it on some games. Like I told you, I'm always like really regretful that I did not play Dishonored on PlayStation, on PS3. Or even,
you didn't?
No, I played it on PC because
that's
the game that I thought looked really cool. And then
on Xbox.
A couple of people that I shouldn't have trusted their opinion were like, "No, that game's garbage and really short and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Man, I don't have the money to waste on games right now."
Who told you that?
Justin Foster.
I don't know why.
I can't remember who else it was, but he was
him or Devin Cummings.
No, Devin Cummings actually likes Dishonored.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But my point being is that I like to go back and play on one console because of the trophy connection I have. Yep. But that's also one thing for me. So I get that, and I get that affects you in different ways. But it's funny that you bring that up, because I was wanting to bring that up too. Is that one of the biggest arguments that people on PC side of things use, and this is something that we haven't really talked about too when you go all digital, since conversation is also very mixed in with digital purchases, is that when you buy a game digitally on PC, because the PC architecture doesn't change and you just literally upgrade your computer throughout time, there is never a point in time that you can't play a game that you originally purchased digitally, because you're not changing a console.
Right, unless Steam or Origin shuts down, which I don't ever foresee that happening. Unless there's some kind of major FCC laws that they just can't keep operating, and then some users can't use it. I don't ever foresee those juggernauts of companies.
But obviously something drastic would have to happen to make them change. So you're obviously more safe buying digital on PC. But see, like on PC, it's because you're not having a change of architecture or a change of an online service, in case that does change, because online services are handled differently. Whereas right now,
Kinda
on
consoles.
on PS3. What a lot of people were mad about is that your digital purchases on PS3 do not carry forward to PS4 unless they were cross-buy games.
Yeah.
So everything you ever bought digitally, let's just say that you couldn't afford to buy a PS4 without trading your PS3 in at the time, right? Everything you bought on that is now
It's
stuck
gone.
on that system, and you could get another PS3 and have all that, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
you can't carry that forward with you. So that is another reason of like, let's just say you buy like, and of course they exist again, but it's about not having to rebuy it. So the argument, let's say from someone who, like me, who actually did randomly because I didn't get good gas mileage and I'd gotten home and I was like, I want something to play this weekend. I bought Metro Last Light digitally. Right? And I enjoyed every second of it. And I wasn't mad. I was like, I'm glad I didn't buy this digitally and it sucked because I would have been angry.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed every second of it. But now that I moved forward to PS4, and I don't have it that I can play on my PS4, but I can go buy the game again on PS4. And now I get that. Some people have that argument with remasters. And to me, it always has to be a balance of how much you feel about what you've bought and how much enjoyment it would bring you again to play it again. And whether the 1080p 60 or even if it's a good remaster is worth it or not, or if a new trophy list or whatever it be is worth it for you.
And
sometimes it is.
A lot of that is convenience. Like 9 times out of 10, I've said it before, I really, really want the PlayStation app to be able to go and become on the PS5 in the future, because I was talking about, I kind of want to try Witcher 3 again. I was reading recent posts about how it does take like 20 hours, and I don't think I ever quite hit the 20-hour mark to open up or to get, fully invested in it because of the slow start. So I was kind of want to try it again. I do love the game in terms of
I would highly
sound.
argue with you that the game does not wait until 20 hours to open up. Personally,
Well, that's what
but it
I read
also
a couple
depends on, I
different
guess,
people
how you
saying
play it because it's
just slow.
such an open game. I don't think it's slow. I actually love the beginning of that game because Fun in the Griffin, the game, actually a lot of people's arguments is that the game throws you into something that they feel like is too hard.
No, that wasn't too hard. That was just a long 3-hour
But I've heard that
Yeah.
from people, and I don't agree with it. But
anyways, I love the sound in that game. The music plus the wind in the trees and the rain, all that.
the
is
way the
just
trees actually kind of
amazing.
bow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't describe it any higher than that. And so I looked on my phone and it's not on sale. So I'm like, okay, I'm not paying $50 for this Game of the Year edition. It's $20 on Steam. But this is also something I'd rather get trophies for. So I'm just going to go to GameStop today and pick it up if it's a good price at GameStop.
Sure.
But 9 times out of 10, if the game is on sale or in the game deals, and I'm going to download it. One of my favorite experiences this gen in terms of using new hardware was when I got my PS4 Pro. I was taking my old PS4 to GameStop, and I had everything on there was digital. I was currently playing Absolver, still a little bit of Destiny 1, I think, and then a couple other games.
If I remember right, you traded your PS4 in towards your Pro.
Right. Okay. So what I did a little bit of prep work before I did that. It took 10 minutes, but I went into cloud saves and I cloud saved all my games that I had on there. That was digital. Mm-hmm. And then the other games that I really cared about, I cloud saved, but not a whole lot. That I didn't mind starting over and again or whatever. I knew I wasn't going to play because I have almost 200 games on my library. And so I remember I took the PS4 to GameStop, traded it in. Everything went great. Went home, plugged it all in, started setup. And then it was just a matter of downloading the games again. And then they were back.
Sure. Even easier, though, is if you can afford to do it, which a lot of people can't. Like when I got my Monster Hunter
trade
one.
It in and plug them in and transfer.
And then sell it.
Yeah, see, honestly, we know people at GameStop well enough. I'm not going to say anything to get them in trouble. I could probably have done that in the store.
You could have. I guarantee.
But at the same time, it's like I literally queued all of them for download, put my PS4 to sleep when I ate lunch.
Well, sure, and there's that, but it's also
I didn't have to keep taking disc out and put them in, take a disc out while they're downloading.
Which is that other argument of digital, and we actually do deal with this, but that's the other argument of digital purchases. So you did that, say you had 5 games you were currently playing, you would download all 5 because you wanted to be able to kind of play them at will. Now you've downloaded 5 games worth of data, and we have a data cap.
Well, you still got to do that. You still got to do that.
Eventually.
Well, yeah. If you're currently playing them, you're going to download within the same month. I'm sure.
And that's what I'm saying. Eventually, you have to do that, but that's where the upside of being able to just transfer between PlayStations is good. But that's one of those things that it sucks that we have to deal. I mean, and that's what I'm talking about. It's another one of the things. It's another one of the weapons against digital purchases is that because of places like where we live that have data caps, it sucks.
You know how I am with new electronics. I'm not about to take my brand new PS4 Pro out in the middle of GameStop and sit it on its nasty counter.
Oh, I know.
It's going to be at home on my dust-free
which is
shelf
what I did.
that's
thankfully,
dusted like once every week. But yeah, so like I do think that name changing is coming soon. Of course, at PSX.
Well, I feel
Sean
like
said this year, by this year he'll have an answer. That doesn't mean we're going to have it by the end of this year. It's going to be, we're taking steps to change away our architecture a little bit in the terms of online ID tied to nicknames instead.
He said by now we'll have an answer. So literally, he has until December 31st, I guess.
Yeah,
to say, hey, we're going to do it.
Yeah,
hey,
on the PS5 you can do it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be this current gen. Now,
but it's an issue that will continue to loom, and it's one of those issues that I do think will continue because America kind of does have, and this is very specific to America at this point, but I say that it's specific to other areas too, but we have very in and out internet reliability and poor infrastructure. So there's a million reasons why people don't do online or don't do digital only here. And that's why, there was tons of people that kept saying the digital future's coming, and it's probably just like 2-3 years away. And then there's people that were smart enough to go, the digital future's coming, but it's coming once the infrastructure can support it. And that's where I stand a little bit. But even at that point, I still just want there to always be some kind of physical release. But hey,
No, yeah, I understand. It's a completely valid thing to, I have Rainbow Six and Monster Hunter, and a little bit of me groans on the inside when I'm like, I'm gonna play Rainbow Six, and then I go
because you have to go put the disc in.
Like, man, this is kind of terrible.
Well, it's like Monster Hunter. Let's just say Monster Hunter was your only physical game. If you just want to play it, just leave it in there.
That's what I do. I don't take it out. Like, last night when we were winding down, I got killed by basil geese again. From something I've never been killed by him by. And so I really didn't feel like playing Monster Hunter, but I was looking through and I had like Enter the Gungeon and
Don't you mean Fire Goose?
Yeah, B2 Stealth Bomber.
Yeah, that's his new name for me, Fire Goose.
I didn't have anything on there I really want to play, but it was kind of weird that like I'm at a point in my life where I'm too lazy to put a disc in. That's how if you're in the Discord, you saw my setup too. It's like my game tower is literally 5 feet away. I can literally in one motion grab a game out and put it in a PS4.
Which is exactly what I do, as you can see.
Yeah,
right
it's literally like 2 feet from your PS4. All your games.
Oh, you're part of the problem.
But, a little bit, but I just know that
that's just incredibly lazy. But I mean,
well, the sad thing is I've traded in all the games I'm not going to play anymore. So now I'm left with like 2 copies of Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, like 3 copies of that. And then
games that are worth nothing.
I was going to say Hyper Light Drifter, which is super cool.
I still actually want to borrow that. You have my God of War 3 sitting over there somewhere.
That's true, yeah. That's sitting on the very bottom.
Which kills me because there's just a hole.
There is a hole there. But
a hole in my heart where you used to be.
But I think this has been a fun episode. Remember, guys, if you have any feedback for us, whether it's good or bad, we'd like to hear it. Just, write us a review on iTunes or whatever you listen to us on. Even in the comments below, somebody suggested timestamps, which we were doing earlier on and we kind of got lazy with, but we've started that back again. So we do listen to people, whether it's, shorter episodes. I'm not going to necessarily say longer episodes can be a thing, but, hour to an hour and a half, I think, is the great sweet spot for most people anyways.
And one other thing is that, we were talking about last week, the idea of the book club, and we've gotten some decent feedback on that. We like that idea, so we're going to roll through with that. That means that most likely, I'm fairly positive, we will know the PS Plus games by the time that we record next week.
Platinum Pals.
Well, we'll figure it out. It's not going to be a platinum book club.
No, I know.
That's too
I
hard.
just literally came up with that on my head. So
but
I'm trying to think
still,
of a clever name.
I do like the idea, and everybody kind of agreed that as a ease of entry, because most people have PS Plus, not everybody, it'd be easy to choose one of them. And one of the things I will ask you to do is if you listen to this episode all the way to this point, and you have a preference, say you like the idea, I think the way I want to go about doing it is that when we get the PS Plus games announced, that we will put the 2 PS4 games up, and we will just do a poll between the two to see which game will be the game for the month, and we'll do it. So we normally get the news a week before, so we'll have the whole week to vote. We'll see which one, and then on that week's episode, when they become available, we'll say this is the game that we're going to do. We still got to make the Discord channel for that, so we really got to sit down and actually figure out how to break those apart.
I think it's pretty easy.
I think it's easy.
I got to download Discord on my computer again.
Yep. So
are you going to be online tonight? You going to play some Monster Hunter later on?
We'll see.
Okay.
Probably.
I was going to say, if so, you can remind me then, and I can go through it with you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's been all for us. Until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.